Hello, my name is Margaret Adele, and welcome to another indie book review. I've been looking to get more serious nonfiction on my recommendations list for a while, so when I got the email for this book, I was really happy to accept, and that is Out of the Pantry, A Disordered Eating Journey by Ronni Robinson. This is a memoir all about the author's struggle with compulsive eating or overeating and her trials to get over it, as well as a little bit more in depth into what it is and what caused it. Now, I loved this particularly because this isn't a kind of eating disorder that is often discussed. Most of the time when we talk about eating orders or we think about eating orders, we think about things like bulimia or anorexia. We don't think about the other side of eating too much. And there is no purging in this. It is very much compulsive overeating. I also appreciated how well it describes the overeating in general, because I feel like a lot of people have a very specific thought process of what it is and what the person who has it looks like. For example, the author is not like plus size by our standards. I think it talks about how the biggest she ever got was 172 pounds. I'm over 200 and I don't have an eating disorder. And so she doesn't necessarily look like people would assume someone with an eating disorder has. She even talks about how a lot of people considered her athletic. And it's not just she likes to eat a lot or she likes to eat in large quantities. It is a food takes over her entire life. She eats when she's full. She eats when she doesn't even like the taste of what she's eating. She would go to parties and really only be talking to people to make small talk to kill time before it was socially acceptable for her to go back to the dessert table. And she hid a lot of things and she would eat out of trash cans. Like, what people assume compulsive eating isn't what it actually is, and I love how in-depth the descriptions of this get. Now, because of how in-depth the descriptions get, I have a feeling this book would be a struggle for anyone who needs content warnings for that kind of thing. And yes, it feels a little bit superfluous to be giving content warnings for eating disorders when the words disordered eating is literally on the cover of the book. But in general, it's not just compulsive eating that might affect you. Like I mentioned before, she talks a lot about her weight and losing and gaining it. So if that's something you've been struggling with, that might be an issue for you. If you have been in an emotionally abusive relationship, there's a couple chapters that might affect you. And so I would go into it with those things in mind. However, this is very much written to be a kind of almost first point of contact, because you read about the author first figuring out what it is, because she spent the majority of her life having no idea or secretly believing that a lot of people secretly ate out of trash cans and just didn't let other people know. So it's really good as like a first kind of point of contact. And also there are a lot of references to other reading materials moving forward. She quotes a lot of other books that she was reading while she was figuring things out. I appreciated how she quoted her own blog, and now I feel like I need to start reading blogs. But at the back of the book, there is a bibliography of all the sources she used, the books she read. So if you're interested, you can continue further down with all of this. I definitely struggled with all of the descriptions of food, only because I don't have a sweet tooth at all. I can't even remember last time I ate chocolate. And her descriptions of the food and the way she would eat it, and like how there was this methodical way she would like take apart a cookie, and she had specific like almost rituals for eating, made my teeth ache a little bit. And there are some chapters that don't have a lot of that, but there are a lot where it's a blow by blow. This is what it was like for me eating. So in a weird way, I recommend that you don't read this if you're either very, very hungry or very, very full. Like, you kind of read that in that sweet spot where you're not super hungry, but you haven't just eaten. I found that was the most comfortable place for me to be reading it, because I tried both reading it super hungry and super full after just eating, and in both cases, no go. So this might be one of those where you have to be in the right headspace for it, but I appreciated the writing style. It's a mix of an overview of what her life was like and also novelizations of specific instances. There is a lot of discussion with her relationship with her parents, which was not out and out abusive, but could be coined emotionally neglectful. So if that's something you're struggling with, again, this is one of those hard-hitting memoirs where you got to be in the right place for it. But the writing style itself was very well written. It flowed nicely. One of those writing styles where the pages kind of flew by without you knowing because it was such a personable voice, which I really appreciated. I also appreciated all of the discussion on training and running and things because I feel like I now feel the urge to exercise more. I'm not doing a triathlon because she focuses on like Ironmans and triathlons and marathons and not about that life. But I did find this very uplifting and very energizing in how she tackles the problem when she knows it, because once she realizes the eating disorder she has, when she first realizes that, compulsive overeating is a thing, she goes hard and does all of the research and joins the Overeaters Anonymous and does all of that. And it's like very much that kind of, I'm going to go do the thing mentality. I'm going to go take over the world. And I loved that kind of tone. The emotional abuse of the relationship that she mentions is thankfully brief, or at least brief-ish. It lasted 8 years for her, so it's as brief in a memoir as something that lasted 8 years can be. But also, I low-key loved the mentions of her eventual husband. Ephraim's so cute. But I highly suggest this one if you're looking for a memoir, especially if you are looking for like a first time memoir read, because I know some of those giant like 300, 400 page ones can be a little bit iffy, and this one is under 300. I read this in 2 days. Granted, I read a little bit more than the average reader. I average over 100 pages a day, but still, this is a fairly quick read compared to other memoirs. So if you want to get into reading memoirs and you're a little bit nervous from the bigger ones, this one is a great one to get into. It has a lot of dark moments in which the author discusses her struggles with herself and all of that, but also there's so many tips and insights from therapy and literature and a lot of focus on getting better that I think if you were really looking for something, this would be a great thing to get into. Even if you're wondering if you have something similar to this, check it out and see, because she's very point blank in discussing exactly what it felt like and what she did in this instance, and this instance, and this instance, and this is what I would do at this party. So if you're looking for another point of reference for yourself, I feel like this would be a great avenue to go down. So this comes out August 6th. Yes, I actually got a review out before the publication date. I'm super proud of myself. And I gave it 5 stars. Great review read, great memoir read. I am so excited to be jumping into more nonfiction over the course of my reviewing, and I would again highly suggest this one. Now, if you are an indie author and you are interested in a review like this one, please send me an email. I will have my email down in the description below. Please be aware that I am currently soft closed, so I am more likely to say no to review requests than normal. And with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.